Hello, my name is David Younger. I'm Associate Director in the Study Abroad Office, and today we're going to talk about the Rome Classical Studies program, the ICCS program, as part of our Study Abroad Week portfolio of virtual information sessions. With me today are two special guests that I'd like to introduce, Professor Schlegel from the Classics Department, and Lainey Adams, who was fortunate enough to go on this program last year. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, yeah. I'm Catherine Schlegel, and I'm DUS in Classics. And I would like just to encourage you to think about this program. It's kind of a wonderful thing. So that's all I've got to say. You can find me anytime you like, at least on Zoom for now, in the Classics department.
Yes, and hello, my name is Lainey Adams. I'm a senior living in Baden Hall, and I'm a Classics and Anthropology double major. Yeah, I would also like to recommend this program to anyone who's interested in joining and seeing what classical Rome is about.
Great, thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about program information now, just so that people are aware. This program is located in Rome, Italy. Generally, 1 or 2 students per semester from Notre Dame participate in the program, but the program itself can be up to 35 students in size. Sometimes it varies, but up to 35 students in size. This program is a consortium-run program, but it is primarily managed by Duke University. And so you might meet other American students from all over the country who are participating in this, from obviously Duke or Notre Dame, but also other American institutions from Columbia to USC and anywhere in between. The eligibility for the program is a minimum 3.0 GPA and at least 2 semesters of Latin or Ancient Greek or both. Generally, from semester to semester, the program calendar runs very similarly to a stereotypical Notre Dame semester, meaning that in the fall it will start in late August and run to mid-December, and in spring it will run from January to mid-May. Talking briefly about the academics of the program, it is a comprehensive classical studies program. So students who go on this program will take, actually through Duke, a 9-credit course. Notre Dame divides it into 2 4.5-credit courses, but this course is called the Ancient City course. Part of it deals with politics, society, and culture, and another part deals with art and architecture. I'm not going to go too deep into this because I have other experts on the recording here with me. But throughout this program, you'll be able to take intermediate or advanced Latin or Greek, an art history course that will satisfy a university requirement, beginning Italian, as well as a conservation course. So I'm going to pass it over to Professor Schlegel to talk about how this course can accelerate your classics degree, as well as what you can do afterwards with an experience like this. And then I'll pass it to Lainey Adams to talk about what her experience in the classes were like.
Yeah, the big Ancient City course will give you a whopping 9 credits. So that's 3 courses already towards the major if you happen to be a classics or a classical civ major. And then we count the Latin and Greek courses exactly as we would our own. So 1 semester is 1 semester, it's the same. So it gives you a big bump if you happen to be a classics major. It also is a really good way to introduce yourself to how interdisciplinary classics is as a field. And partly that's from living in Rome, but the ancient Rome city teaches you that it's to do classics, it's good to have languages, but you need also some history, some art history, archaeology. All of that sort of piles into this study of the city of Rome. And what I like about this course is it basically makes the city into your textbook. And Lainey may say more about that, but it's an irreplaceable and remarkable way to learn about Rome. There's nothing like it anywhere else. And it's also just, I think, a really nice program academically. It's rigorous and it's convivial, and every single thing you do pours into this project of learning about the ancient world. Also, students who go to this course sometimes learn that they do not want to be classics majors, and sometimes they learn they do. But whichever way it goes, they are still talking about it 15 years later. We got some little testimonials from former students going back 20 years, and a good number of them went on this program and talked about how they still think about this semester course in Rome. The city of Rome, for one thing, has a way of changing people, and certainly changes your view of a classics major, but I think it changes your view of history. Rome piles centuries on top of each other, and you will stumble across the ancient world, but suddenly you'll also be in the medieval world, and you'll be in the 17th century. It is a great advantage for graduate school programs if you're going in classics or actually art history and history as well. For classics, it's it's a bona fide. It's not like you have to do this course to get into graduate school, but everyone recognizes how good it is academically. Students who don't go on in classics, as I said, still talk about this course. A student of ours named Rich Schrader, I think he graduated about 2010, is now an ophthalmologist, but he mentioned in a correspondence recently that the Centro, the ICCS program, changed his life. And he also called it, I think, Classics Nerd Disneyland. But that's just, that's him, that's not my language. It is simply, an advantage to your life and to your academic record to participate in this course and to meet a lot of other people who are interested in the ancient world at the same time. So yeah, I think that's all. Lainey can tell you about the, she can get into the weeds.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of details about the course itself, and so I'll start out with the required course, with the Ancient City course, and that always started on Monday mornings. We would typically spend the morning out in Rome, walking around, going to ancient sites, talking about things. One of the things that I loved the most about this course was that you never sat in a classroom, let alone like online learning was not, the operational system in this course. It wasn't a lecture that we got from our teachers, but an experience that you got to go out into the city and experience and really jump into yourself. So that was Monday mornings, and then Tuesdays, the entire day was dedicated to the Ancient City course. And those would typically be days that we would take trips outside of the city itself to experience more of Rome as an empire and how Rome influenced and was influenced by the other cities in Italy. So our semester went chronologically. When I was there, we mostly went to some Etruscan sites, such as the necropolis at Tarquinia and Caire. But then we also, for example, went to this place that was the Temple of Fortuna Primigenia at Praeneste. And these are experiences that it's really hard to describe in a Zoom. It's really hard to describe even with pictures. I think it's something that you have to go and do for yourself to really experience, because there's so much in Rome that it starts to feel natural or right that you're walking around a city and then you see some ancient monuments or you see some imperial fora. But then, so Palestrina is a small Italian city, and we were walking around the city, went to see a really ancient gate, and then we walked up a bunch of stairs up this hillside, and all of a sudden we are in an ancient Roman temple, and you are looking out over the city of Palestrina, and it's just so earth-shattering. It's so amazing to think of how long ago this was built and what this meant to Romans and to people at that time, and then also what it has meant throughout time up until this day. So that's to say that the Ancient City course takes you also outside of Rome, because Rome isn't an island by itself, and it isn't a people of just the city. It's a people of the whole area. And these really aren't touristy trips. They're off the beaten path of what would be a typical trip to Italy. But one of the things that I most appreciate about this course was that I would never find these places by myself, and let alone find an expert to come along and teach me about these really ancient places. And I feel like that's something that you get in this program that you wouldn't necessarily in other Rome Study Abroad programs. And so that's a bit about the Ancient City course. And then the other classes I took as electives, I took Advanced Latin, and that was on Mondays and Thursday afternoons. And I was really impressed, not only by my professor and like her expertise in the Latin language, but also the level to which she engaged with the city of Rome too. It's really easy to say, like translating Latin passages, like, oh, let's sit in a classroom and, you know, like read and translate and do scansion. But my professor chose for us to read Virgil's Eclogues, so that we could hear about the Italian countryside from the perspective of Virgil, who's one of, you know, like Latin's greatest authors, but then also like see the countryside and talk about the plants and the wildlife that he discusses. And so that was a really, really amazing outside of just the classroom experience. Then on Wednesday mornings, I did the Conservation and Management of the Material History of Rome course, which was the hardest to get into at the Centro, surprisingly. It had to stay small because our big project was creating our own mosaics in the method that the ancient Romans would make mosaics. And I cannot tell you how sad I was to leave mine behind. But I really loved everything about the course because I wasn't super familiar with what conservationists did. And I feel like I can appreciate so much more the work that they do. And also when I go to museums or see ancient artwork, how much work has gone into preserving those and continuing to share them with the public. And then I think that maybe the last course, I didn't actually take art history because I had filled up my requirements, but we did not have classes on Fridays to allow for art history courses to go on like day-long trips. And if you weren't a student in the class, you could still go along. And so we got to visit places like the Sistine Chapel and the Villa Farnese, like with an art history expert who is really just an amazing teacher. And that was a really amazing experience, even though I wasn't in the class, still got to venture alongside them. And so that was my experiences with the classes in Rome.
Can I say also, I meant to mention this, that this course is a nice way to set up a senior thesis. Often, not always, but often people do a paper and a course here and then bring it back to Notre Dame and sort of do it up in their senior year. I also wanted to say about being in Rome with the Centro, they can get you into places that no one else can. I mean, they're embedded in the whole strange bureaucracy of Rome, which means knowing people who know people. And so you get these things called permessi to get into museums that are closed, into archaeological sites that the riffraff don't get into. And yeah, Lainey knows about this. And it's all, I mean, it's a huge, as Lainey said, there are places you wouldn't know to go to, but even if you knew, you wouldn't be able to get into if you weren't in this course. I didn't know, I had no vivid idea, say, of who the Etruscans were, the people who ruled Rome before the Romans. And you have to see it to grasp what an amazing civilization this was long before the Romans. So things like that, that are, as Lainey said, hard to describe.
Thank you both. This is great. We're going to move on to housing in the program. So housing in the program, what you can see in these pictures here, the uppermost picture is actually a front door view of the Centro itself. And I'll let Lainey talk about the other view. But this program provides housing on the same premises as the classrooms and administrative offices and even the dining hall. Speaking of dining hall, 3 meals a day on weekends are included, and you will be responsible for your meals on the weekends. To help cover for those costs, a stipend is provided by Notre Dame International to help partially defray some of those living expenses. So we don't collect receipts or anything like that. It's simply money that is provided to you, and you take care of your own meals. Lainey, can you talk a little bit about living in the Centro and what day-to-day life was like and things along that line?
Yeah, for sure. So that was my view in the afternoon sun from my floor on the Centro from my dorm room. And so it was similar to Notre Dame, where there are singles and doubles on the premises, and same amenities, the typical kind of dorm room experience, except for instead of leaving the building to go to your Latin class, you walk down the stairs and sit in the classroom, or for your conservation class, you just walk right upstairs and you're already there. So I love the food. I could talk about the food for an entire presentation by itself. I still dream about it. Everything that you've heard about Italian food, imagine that, but it's especially made like by a group of people who really deeply care about you, who really like want you to enjoy their food, and it's made fresh and provided for you 3 times per day. So the breakfasts normally had like a continental aspect, but then a like main course that was hot, so like eggs or French toast, stuff like that for breakfast. And then lunches were typically like just only 2 courses. Keep it light for lunch. Just, you know, like the best soup that you've ever had and maybe a pasta dish. And then dinners were, you know, the main course, and that was where there would be a like protein course, a pasta course, and then freshly made desserts. And so the food itself was amazing. But then probably what I enjoyed even more than just having good food was having good food and good company, because everything was served family style. So tables of 4 to 6 of your classmates, maybe people that you just were having in class together with, or maybe people that you don't get to see if you're taking different electives as much. But then, yeah, it was really amazing being able to like share all these meals. And then also after you've had the homemade gelato from the Centro, then you get to go and walk around the city and be like, oh, I have an allowance that allows me to spend a lot of money on gelato every day of the week. And so yeah, so I think that also exploring the city, so living in the Centro was great, but then having like such quick access to different places around the city and being able to make really close friends that you're living in community with, like the Notre Dame dorm, except for they're also, you know, in your major, and you already have like a lot of classes that you share with them. And it was really amazing being able to like bond over your shared interest, because presumably all the people who are in this program are interested in classics. So it was really amazing. I was like, one example was the first weekend, it was Sunday and we'd been there for maybe 3 days, and the Vatican was free to just walk around the museum. And so me and my friends were like, oh, let's head over there. And I knew from the second we walked into the ancient Greek and Roman portion, and we saw the Prima Porta Augustus, which was a picture on one of the first slides. And all of us freak out because we're all classics majors, and we all know how much this particular statue means to, you know, the history of Rome and the Roman Empire. And we all like had this like shared experience learning about it. And that was when I realized that we were all there for the same reason that we were all there. Because of this shared interest and fascination with classical Rome. And that was something that I really, really enjoyed about the program. I made some really, really close friends there and managed to stay in touch despite learning remotely. But that was definitely one of like the great experiences of being able to spend so much time together while we were in Rome.
This is really helpful. Thank you, Lainey. We're going to talk a little bit about life at the Centro and summer eligibility. I know Lainey has talked a little bit about this, so let me jump into eligibility and then maybe have time for another story from Lainey. But so typically you would apply as a sophomore to go during your junior year. As mentioned previously, it's minimum 3.0 GPA and must complete at least 1 year of college level Latin or ancient Greek, again, to get into those intermediate or advanced classes. Should you be pursuing those languages. So Lainey, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here in these photos, and tell us a little bit about life at the Centro.
Yes, of course. So the picture, the smaller picture on the left, that is one of the tombs painted tomb of the Etruscans. I'm actually trying to, it's a dining party, I know, and I'm trying to think of the name of the tomb itself. It's escaping me. But anyway, so this was a really amazing experience because, so this is the original tomb and it's in a museum and it's set up where, in, you know, perfect conditions to keep it preserved so that people in the future will be able to also visit this tomb. But then it was really cool that we went to like the tomb site in Tarquinia and were able to go and visit perfect replicas that were in the exact spot where it had been found. So you walk down a set of stairs and there's a light that turns on for 30 seconds at a time and you're able to experience more of what the tomb was like. And that was a super, super cool experience. And then of course, this is one of the best known bronze statues left in ancient Rome. It's of Marcus Aurelius. And the reason that it survived is because the Christians in later Rome thought that it was a statue of Constantine. It's the only equestrian statue left in Rome. And it was preserved because they're like, oh, the great Christian Roman emperor. And then later historians were like, no, this is definitely Marcus Aurelius. And there's a funny story, me and my friends, actually on the same day that we were visiting the Vatican, we were walking around and we saw like a statue on top of a building. And we were like, oh, that's cool. Like, what if we walk towards it? And then we walk up and then all of a sudden we're in this square and in the center is a replica of the statue. And we all go, oh my gosh, this is a Marcus Aurelius equestrian statue. This is amazing. And then we turned left and it's the Musei Capitolini. And we're like, oh, the Capitoline Museum. Yeah, that would make sense why they would have that here. And so they have a smaller replica in front of the statue. And then once you go inside the museum, which we did for class, I think twice already in the time that we were there, and then you get to see the statue itself and you get to experience one of like the greatest preserved statues from ancient Rome.
It melted them down, the bronze statues, right?
Yes. Sorry, I could have explained why there aren't other equestrian statues. It's because bronze is very valuable and easily melted down, and so every other equestrian statue, and we know that there were a lot of them, have been melted down. But wow. This one survives.
Great stories. Thank you, Lainey. So hopefully in the discussion of our program today, we've caught your interest for the program. I want to tell you that our application deadline is November 1st. So at 11:59 p.m. on November 1st is when our applications will close. You can apply through our website at studyabroad.nd.edu. Simply click on the programs page, go to the Rome Classics page, or the Rome ICCS page as it's listed. There's plenty of other information that we did not share today on those pages there. So please take a moment to browse through our website and see those pages. Also, if you are planning on applying to this, remember that you need to get your DUS approval as well as your advising dean approval. I would suggest that you start looking into that in early or mid-September at the latest and get those appointments scheduled so that you're on their calendars. Their advising schedules tend to fill up rather quickly. So make sure that you do that. Finally, I want to leave you with contact information. So again, my name is David Younger. I'm the Associate Director of Study Abroad in Notre Dame International. And if you want to schedule an appointment with me to talk about the program, that would be perfectly fine. Visit studyabroad.nd.edu for that as well. We're taking all of our appointments via Zoom right now, but some of us are also coming into the office in the afternoons. Contact information for Professor Slagle is also listed here, as well as Lainey Adams. So please do reach out to us. We do want to talk to you about this program. Clearly, you can hear the enthusiasm from Lainey and Professor Slagle. And then finally, one final note, please do follow us on social media as well. Our handles are listed there on the screen. Thank you for joining us, and please reach out if you have
reinforce the point about the advising deans. Don't put that off. They get very cranky.
Yeah. Don't put that off. Make sure that you reach out in September if you can to get those meetings scheduled. So again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.